All right, guys, so today in front of me from Smoke Wagon, we have Uncut the Younger. Now, with some of Smoke Wagon's other expressions, their whiskey is a little bit older. This here is aged anywhere between 4 to 5 years. I've heard some mixed reviews on this one, so I'm actually really excited to get into this one, guys. So without further ado, let's go. Alright guys, so as I stated, Uncut the Younger is aged between 4 to 5 years. We know that there's a 36% rye in this whiskey, which is a high rye mash bill. The rest of it was classified. So if it's an MGP mash bill, my guess would be it's a 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. But again, they did not put the rest of that information out there, just the 36% rye. This you can find MSRP anywhere between $45 to $50, and this one comes in at 115.94 proof. So let's go ahead and get into the nose, guys. Yeah, so first thing I get is like this mixture between a really rich honey and then a cherry Danish, kind of like mixed together. There's a lot of cherry on the nose here, more along the lines of like a darker cherry, not so much like the medicinal cherry. Yeah, there's like a sweet kind of vanilla that kind of is underlying there. I really think the honey and the cherry are really kind of dominating the nose on this one. I don't necessarily pick up any kind of corn sweetness with this being aged 4 to 5 years. Typically, you might get a little bit of that corn sweetness on the nose, but I'm not really picking that up. So a little bit further into the glass, I do start to pick up like some dried fruits, maybe like an apricot, maybe. But again, that cherry and that really rich honey is just dominating the nose. Like I said, that undertone of like a really sweet vanilla on there. It is very like candy-like. It's very, very sweet on the nose. Again, not a lot of that corn sweetness. It's that cherry, the honey, a nice like sweet vanilla undertone in there, and then like some dried fruit further into the glass, like an apricot. Really nice nose, guys. Get to the palate. Cheers. Man, that's pretty good. So first sip, what I felt like on the front and the middle of the palate is just this burst of rye spice, and it's funny because it didn't stay there. It was just like, you know, the tip of the tongue, middle of the palate, and then it starts to go away towards the back of the palate. Nice kind of peppery finish into the back, but there's a lot of sweetness like on the nose. A lot of sweetness, kind of candy sweetness there on the front of the palate. One of the first other notes that I pick up was actually a little bit of that apricot that I got on the nose. Definitely some fruitiness there that's kind of sticking around on the front, kind of saturated itself in there. The finish is a short to medium finish. It's more on the medium side. I think it's some of that black pepper that kind of continues to go down with a little bit of that spicy, that rye spice. Pretty good first sip. Let's get a second one. Yeah, so that sip changed a lot. You still get some of that, like the apricot fruitiness on the front of the palate. And then there's like those little cinnamon red hots candies there on the center of the palate, mixed with some of those rye spices. And again, you know, that rye spice did, like, it hit the front of the palate, and then it, like, transitioned to the center of the palate, mid-palate, and then it kind of faded away. Black peppery finish into the back still. And yeah, there's, like, that, like, cinnamon red hots, like an apricot there. But then on the mid to the back of the palate, there is, like, this, like, cherry Danish, flavor that pops up there. Right in between that mid and back palate. And it does slightly flow into the finish. Again, the finish isn't very long, more along the medium side. Very, very sweet. I'm shocked at like this being only 4 to 5 years. I would never guess that. There's like a little, like after everything's kind of gone away, it's like the little bit of like some sweet oak that kind of pops up there into the back with that black peppery finish. This is good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I know it's gotten some mixed reviews, but I'm digging this one right now. Let's get into the last sip, guys. Cheers. Okay, so again, something like this one just kind of evolves, just continues to evolve on the palate. It's not necessarily you know, some of those flavors are consistent throughout, but it like evolves. So a lot of the rye spice has kind of settled down a little bit, which brings forward more of that the apricot there on the front of the palate. You actually, I do pick up the slightest hint of the rye grain with that spice there on the middle of the palate, just the littlest bit. But now, like that cherry Danish is just kind of evolving more on like the mid palate, and then into the back of the palate, and into the finish with that black pepper. The cinnamon red hots are kind of still there, sitting on the front of the palate with that fruitiness from the apricot. Yeah, so I mean, this one's. I mean, again, for being aged 4 to 5 years, it's very surprising that these kind of flavors would come out of this. Again, you know, that high rye mash bill, that 36%, you know, that very last sip, I picked up a little bit of the rye grain flavor, but not necessarily the spice. The spice had died down after the first 2 sips, which was nice because it did bring forward some more of those fruity characters, like the apricot, the dried apricot. The cinnamon red hots were nice, and then that like cherry Danish just continues to evolve, and it's really kind of saturated there on the middle of the palate now and into the finish. Again, I do wish the finish was just a little bit longer. I tell you, they crushed this one. I think Smoke Wagon did a fantastic job with this release. Again, with it only being 4 to 5 years, I was expecting a little more youthful notes to come out of this. The only thing youthful, and I wouldn't even like technically call it youthful, would be that little bit of rye grain I picked up on the very last sip. But other than that, this is a stellar release here from Smoke Wagon. So I thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. And guys, do yourselves a favor, go out and buy this bottle. MSRP again is anywhere between $45 to $50. For this, you won't be disappointed. I can tell you that. It's you know, you do get some of those flavors that you would typically pick up from Smoke Wagon, but it's just, you know, some of the stuff's a little bit more on the younger side, but you can't necessarily tell that it's younger on the palate. It was very surprising to me. I honestly would go out and buy another bottle of this in a heartbeat. I think at that price, at $45 to $50, it's an absolute steal. It's an easy drinker. It drinks its proof. You know, it was almost 116 proof. I would say it drinks the proof, but again, amazing release here from Smoke Wagon, guys. So if you're looking for more reviews like this, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You can also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. And until next time, guys, stay dusty.